There we
I was
go.
like, "Really?" That is New York Vinnie. He's hiding out from the police and other authorities in the mountains of Washington State. His usual home is Seattle, and that's why we call him New York Vinnie.
Yeah, I'm the only guy I used to be the only guy in Seattle that called himself New York Vinny, but there's now some scoundrel who's opened up a couple of pizza places named New York Vinny's Pizza,
Holy moly!
and I think I have to have one of my uncles get out and pay this guy a visit.
Because it's time for him to understand what a trademark is all about.
Well, yeah, that, and at the very least, I ought to be getting free pizza out of the deal, and at the very most, a fee yearly, so that we don't run them to court and do all the kind of things that people do. And I mean, maybe he thought he was getting away with the trademark because he spells it Vinny, because the
Oh
VINNI is
no! Oh my
VINNIE.
God!
Yeah, so there's a little bit of intent there, but the problem with these things, it costs you more to take them to court,
Tell him he should change the name of the
than
place to Little Mikey's Pizza Parlor, and then I'll sue the hell out of him, and then we'll be done with him.
see, we'd be
And as
okay.
nothing against pizza, there's always time for pizza, and we can't sometimes get enough pizza or good pizza or the best pizza or the right pizza. But in this case, just call it the Pizza Parlor. Get rid of the Vinny part if you don't mind.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, this guy's probably been open about I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, and over that, I've gotten a number of emails and complaints about his pizza. How could I be from New York and make such a crappy pizza? so,
I don't
so,
get that.
uh,
Is that meant
don't
to
get
encourage me?
the pizza. It's my place because it says New York Vinny's Pizza. So him saying that it's not named after me uh, would not fly all that well, I don't think, because I would just whip out these emails that I've gotten over the years and say, "Hey, pal, I'm not really the suing kind, but this seems a little close to the edge."
This seems too close to for it's beyond the comfort zone is what you've done. You've come too close to
Yeah,
my
yeah,
actual name, likeness, being, and personality.
right. It's not easy for me to look at this and say the only reason you named this New York Vinny's Pizza is you wanted people to think that me, a person who has been commonly known in the area for 30 years as New York Vinny, is somehow associated with this pizza operation.
If not the owner and the endorser thereof.
Right. So it's only fair that you either change the name of the place or pony up some cash.
If he wants to fight this, I think that he should get some of Donald Trump's lawyers who are falling away by the wayside. They're available. They're spunky. They're not very good on the so-called motions. They don't write very good motions. They all get rejected.
Yeah, well, if he got them, I wouldn't need a lawyer. I could just go to court and probably win the case. Because Donald Trump, for all the money he has and all the money that he doesn't pay people, um, seems to be in a situation where lawyers don't want to handle him. Lawyers don't, and as I saw one lawyer so rightly say on one of the talking head shows, uh, who wants a client that won't do what you tell him to do?
That won't,
You know,
simply cannot do what you tell them
yeah,
to do.
Bruce Cutler, when he was with John Gotti, would always tell Gotti, "This is what you do," and Gotti would do it, and he would get out of his cases. He would get off. He would be found not guilty. Um,
Let me
Trump,
be your mouth. Let me be your Irish mouthpiece. You're my Italian client. I want you to remain quiet. And here is what you do.
right? Here's what you don't do. You first of all, you don't go talk. You don't go stand up in front of. I don't even know how many was at his last rally, and say that you're going to you come after me, I'll come after you. That's probably not a good way to get a relationship with somebody who has the power to totally screw you up.
And that's coming. That could be as early as today. We'll find out what the reaction is there. But Trump got some early morning bad news in the court. The woman that is suing him for rape, he countersued her, and that got thrown out of court. So that shows you how well that motion was written. That was a good piece of writing. I could have done that. A monkey or a chimpanzee, and they're not the same thing. Chimpanzee is part of the great apes, but either one of them
Right.
could write a motion that might do better in court than the ones that Donald Trump's current attorneys write for him.
Well, he is now down to where he's getting. I mean, again, people don't want to touch his cases. Any good lawyer, any lawyer with any brains in their head, the only guys that he's getting is guys like Scaramouche or this latest clown he got with the bad haircut. He can't even afford a lawyer with a good haircut.
That was Big Jitterman's lawyer for a long time.
$25 in pocket to go to Supercuts and get an even haircut.
Supercuts does not always guarantee even haircuts. They do guarantee a price point, and that's about it.
Yeah, we'll take some of your hair off for $30, $25. We promise you that. Short of that, there's no promises in the Supercuts.
Nope.
They don't even give you a money back guarantee. They say we guarantee, but they don't go, we will give you your money back if you're not satisfied. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you've ever been to a Supercuts, but what they do is they have one of the interns in the store run around the floor, pick out the pieces, the clumps of hair from the floor that are yours.
Oh dear!
And they got a little bit of crazy glue, and they guarantee it will put the hair back where it belongs, and you can go to another barber.
I must admit I've never had that experience at Supercuts, but it sounds about right.
It's probably about where you're gonna go. You have to, when you have a super cutter, you always have to realize that you have to direct them.
They need direction.
They need direction. I mean, they know how to. It's better than trying to cut your own hair, but not much.
I'm glad you mentioned direction. We have some showbiz news this morning that will not please you, but send you back in memory to a reverie to a few scenes. William Friedkin, the film director, died this morning at the age of 87. The man most famous for The Exorcist, but equally famous for The French Connection.
Yeah, I was going to say The French Connection, but I was going to give you the line because
that's right.
You came up with the news.
And that's the breaking news for this morning. But what scene comes to you in The French Connection? And you can't say the chase scene because it's some of the most famous chase scenes ever filmed.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly you can go with the chase scene. I've always been, it's actually been one of my favorite scenes out of that whole movie is the one where, well, there's two that I've really loved. There's the one where his partner, Sonny Grosso, is there's a girl riding a bicycle, and then he winds up Popeye with handcuffed to his bed. I always thought that was a cute kind of little scene
in the Roosevelt housing developments down off the FDR,
right. And then there's the other one where Frog One is in the subway, the Grand Central Shuttle, and they're playing. They're dancing in the shuttle. One gets in, the other gets out, the other gets in, one gets out, one gets in, one gets out, and then finally Frog One gets on the train. He goes past it. Doyle is running down the platform, and Frog One goes, just like au revoir.
I don't see you, but I know you're there.
But then he eventually does meet up with Popeye.
Oh yes.
Later in the movie, and Popeye gives him the same bonjour back again. So that's
these are based on real policemen working for the NYPD, correct?
Yeah.
Popeye Doyle,
Eddie Egan, and
Yeah.
Sonny Grosso were the two detectives. Egan is in the movie he is the sergeant, or I guess he's the CO, the commanding officer, with the kind of butch haircut, which is the FBI guy is sitting there telling, "Oh, I don't want to work with Doyle. He got two of his partners shot." Da 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 da. And Egan's big line is, "Come on now." But he and of course Sonny Grosso went on to become a consultant for a number of movies. Was also played was wrote a movie called The Seven Ups, which
Hmm.
came out a couple of years after The French Connection, and has what possibly could be as good as or better a better chase scene than The French Connection does.
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, it's really an intense um, chase scene where he winds up almost getting decapitated on the Palisades Parkway.
Well,
But
if you're going to get
Freaky,
decapitated, yeah.
yeah, Freakin had a very a very good understanding of New York. He understood how it, whether that was his. I don't know if he was born there or what, but it, the French Connection is a movie that um, uh, really captures the cops of the time
Yes.
and the
How they played fast and
idiosyncrasies.
loose.
Yeah, the idiosyncrasies of these cops, especially. There's one scene where they're staking out Frog One, and Scheider comes. He's got like a little box, and in the box he's got two slices of pizza and two cups of coffee, and he's got and the way Gene Hackman folds his pizza and eats his
That's how you
piece
do it. That's
pizza,
how you do it.
it sells you. It tells you
Yeah.
that he is a guy from New York that has done this before.
Yeah. Many
You know,
times. Sitting in a cold Ford Crown Victoria.
yeah, these guys actually, it's funny because these guys aren't even in the car. They're just standing across the street from the hotel where Frog One is staying while him and Sal Boca.
And they're at a
I
nice
mean,
warm dining room at a window table, right?
it's the way he constructs the meeting, right? Is Boca and Frog One again? He's ordering snails and wine and off a dessert cart and everything, and pointing to this, pointing to that, and through the window of where they're sitting, you can see Grosso and Egan across the street eating their pizza and cup of coffee in a
In,
styrofoam cup.
enjoying their chilly Manhattan evening.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's really, I mean, it's a great, just freaking really understood and got what, I'm sure with the help of Grosso. I don't know how much of a help Eddie Egan really was on the whole thing, but
Come
they
on.
really,
He said, come on. Come on
yeah, they
now.
really caught the essence of what New York cops were at that time. And these kind of cops, and he caught a good slice of the system that they had to deal under. They caught a good slice of the essence of the relationship between the FBI and the New York City Police Department, which was many times a
Very
contentious
strained. Yeah.
relationship,
Yeah.
which was not an easy relationship. As a matter of fact, and I know this because I had a really well, I actually lived there myself for a couple of months, but I had a really good friend that lived on the same street as the FBI headquarters on 69th between 2nd and 3rd.
Hmm. Busy neighborhood.
And, on both sides of the street, they'd have FBI undercover cars parked. And the New York City cops' favorite sport is when they had nothing to do at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. They'd go out there and just write them out fucking parking tickets.
Here you go.
And there was a great Jewish deli on the corner too, the Colony Deli, and I always remember that.
Well, let's go and get pastrami right now.
They were open 24/7, man. You could go there on Sunday morning at 2 a.m. and the place was buzzing, and you go to yourself a pastrami on rye, lean with mustard.
Oh boy.
1, 2, 3, they'd have it for you. Matzo ball soup, boom, they'd have it for you.
Yeah. Make you live forever,
Yeah.
matzo ball soup.
Bring you a bucket of pickles to the table.
Why, it's
And
almost like Wolf's 23 is transported to 68th Street or whatever it
yeah,
was.
and waiters who were born and brought up in Manhattan by way of Hungary
Yeah.
or one of the other Eastern
Poland.
European countries that you would, these guys, you would talk to them and you would know that either they were Holocaust survivors or they had family or there was something going on. But again, freaking caught all of that stuff in that movie. It was a very real. Serpico was probably the most real movie about New York cops at the time. I think Serpico came out the year before The French Connection. Friedkin caught it on the same, if not a little bit better level.
And he did another movie called The Exorcist, in which he managed to put the demonic possession of a teenage girl in the headlines to the point that movie blew a lot of people away. That movie scared a lot of people. That movie frightened people long after their experience in the theater. That movie and the book that preceded it were frightening to be a part of at certain points. And you think you've got it. You think you've got this, you got it down, you're cool, you're collected, you're ready for the next scene. And they would just one up it one time after another to the point where I was impressed, but bothered, if the word is appropriate,
No, I know exactly what you
about
mean.
how I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There's a it was like Dirty Harry. You were impressed by the movie and the technical stuff in the movie, but there was a certain uneasy feeling you got
Yeah.
after when you were leaving the theater, going, this doesn't seem that far fetched
No.
that it couldn't happen. And
And
we've
it
seen it
was
happen time and time again.
and we want a hero cop to have no regard for the rules and just kill everybody and be done with it. It's an overstatement, but think of how we were on Eastwood's side during his episodes, his most violent scenes, and yet we know now that that's precisely the type of cop that abuses his power and kills the wrong guy and abuses the wrong people and takes advantage of the weakest, not the
Right,
most dangerous.
right. But when you go back to the time that movie was made, 1972, I think it was, for Dirty Harry, 71, um, we were going through a time of lawlessness and transition in this country.
You
And
know why? You know why we were going through that time in 1972? It is the midpoint of the greatest year in rock and roll history, 71 to 73.
right,
So
right.
the music was so good that the movies had to be extra real to compete.
And society, and listen, the situation of the growing, just absolute weariness of the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
the probably the highest point of non-communication between parents and kids,
Yep.
uh, all of the different things that were going on at that time brought us that great music. Because it was all in front of you. If you had a way of putting things into words and setting it to music, it was like a buffet. Life was like a buffet table for you.
Yeah.
There was always something going on that you could pull a song out of. Whether it was relationships or the national situation or Nixon or Kent State or whatever was going on at that time. There was so much stuff going on that, and everybody was waiting for the dawn of the age of Aquarius that never came.
Where the hell was that? Did I miss that? Because we talked about it. You said it
Maybe
was coming.
somebody found it, but I never found the age of Aquarius. I never knew what an age of. I saw some places that looked like they would be ripe for it. I saw some places that I said this could turn into something really groovy. Went on some trips with some people that I thought, and lived in some houses, living situations with people that I thought could be pretty groovy. But the reality was, at the end of the day, the people are still people.
Well, the dawning of Aquarius promised this new age of awareness and appreciation and of coexistence and happiness and less stress and less anxiety and more togetherness. And there's a beautiful sunrise in your future. And that would be nice, but that's asking a lot for one sunrise, for one dawning of one Aquarian. So whatever we ordered, we didn't get it. I was waiting at the door, and they said they were going to bring by that dawning of the age of Aquarius in the morning. Never got there, and that
Well,
leaves me
we
waiting
were
for it.
yeah we were so sure it was going to come, and we started to see some social changes that indicated that it would come. Right? I mean, we saw our music accepted as kind of the mainstream music, or
Right.
accepted as from as something that was viable. We saw poets of our generation lifted into a status of, you know,
Importance,
say again?
importance, and influence, and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, exactly. We, we saw all these things that we thought would change the world, but the reality is while it healed a piece of the divide, it never went deep enough. It never
Well,
changed.
that's a good observation, Vinny, because that's the American story. We have a revolution, but we didn't quite finish it. We have a civil war, and we're still fighting it. We have division in terms of political parties, and we let them rule and supersede and control all of our affairs. We are not one nation under God, that's for certain. I don't know how many you want to count, but there's at least two. There may be as
Yeah.
many as five. And whether we're under God or not is open to debate. And I want to be involved in that debate because I don't know what we're under. It's like we're under pressure. That's what we're under. We under pressure.
Well, yeah, we just you're right though. When the Europeans do something, it seems like they delve into it and they get into it and they really, kind of examine and look at it from all sides. We look at it for 5 minutes and kind of go, well, okay, that's good enough.
We're done
What's
here.
going to happen
Bartender.
now? It,
Yeah.
it, it almost, I think, comes from our financial, in many ways, situation where at an early age, we are taught that if you can't get it right away, just go get credit and you'll get it. You don't have to work
You,
for it. If
you
you
won't
want a car,
use somebody else's money to get what you need.
yeah, you can get what you need by just going to somebody and asking, "Can I borrow the money?" And somebody will lend you the money at whatever rate it is. It's something that people never think about, the price you have to pay to obtain that money. The Europeans, although they've been Americanized enough right now, still held on to that value, that thing that said you don't take a vacation to some faraway land until you saved up enough money. You work first, and then you take your vacation. In America, we do it the opposite way. We take the vacation, and then we work to pay for
Yeah,
the
we do.
vacation.
In fact, we get a new job and tell the boss right away, I'm really pleased about this. It's exactly what I want, but it's going to be a month before I can report to work. Why? I'm going to India based on the salary that you just decided to pay me, and I'll be back. I
Right.
promise I'll be back.
Chase Manhattan, based on what you're going to pay me, Chase Manhattan said that, oh, we'll send you, we'll send you
It's not, yeah,
$10,000 on a little card, and you
it's
can
not the end
go
of the
next
world. I'll
round.
be back.
Yeah, and then when you get back, many times the situation changes.
And that car you had is gone. I left it right here in the driveway after my trip to India. That's where we found it. Yeah, and it's our car
Yeah,
again.
that's where we came with the tow truck and picked it up because you, in your haste to get to India, you forgot to make the last two payments.
And that's a damn shame. But we can start all over again. You can buy a new whatever.
Well, yeah,
Plus
or
your
even
credits
better, we'll
a little
sell you your
damaged.
car back.
We'll get,
You
yeah,
pay us,
at a double profit.
$3,000 in fees, and you can charge it because so the $3,000 in fees becomes $4,000, and you can and everything will be hunky dory. You go ahead and spend our money as much as you want. Just remember that you're going to have to pay it back someday.
Two other items from the business news today. Barbie the movie has crossed the $1 billion mark in 3 weekends. It took them 3 weeks to make $1 billion with a B. This is a movie success that is not quite able to be compared to anything else that Hollywood has done. This is a Warner Brothers film. It's about Barbie the doll. It's about Ken the doll. It's about their adventures, and it is a monster. And
Well, it's
it's of such strength that other business stories like what happened to the Pac-12 have fallen off the page. By the way, Cal plays Stanford, then Stanford plays Washington State, then Oregon State plays the winner of that game, then they all play again, then they all play again. And there you go, you got a conference. There's more games, there's a lot more football, there's less predictable outcomes because who's going to win when Washington State plays Oregon State, and then Oregon State plays Washington State? You see the difference? It's the
yeah,
same two
oh
teams,
yeah,
but one is playing and one is playing the other one.
yeah.
It's a great idea.
Who gets suspended by the time the game time number 3 roll around?
They don't know. Those
I,
schools don't know what to do. They don't
oh,
know where they are.
let me take on Barbie first because I think the producers of Barbie have hit on something that we so desperately need in this country right now, and that is um, pure fantasy.
Yeah,
But fantasy that touches a bone deep inside of us
something we
because it's
know.
familiar.
Yeah,
Anybody who's our age had a sister or a cousin or some female that they were well acquainted with that played with Barbie.
name a father who has not stepped on a Barbie purse or a Barbie shoe in the middle of the night, trying to go to the bathroom. Barbie stuff is ever all over the house. She
And,
spends her whole day and night. I know she comes dressed, but after you get her home, Barbie is nude. Barbie can't find her dress. She can't find her shoes. She can't find her Corvette.
right? And usually it's your strange uncle that undresses her at Thanksgiving
That's sad, but
in
probably
that
true.
small part of the kitchen. But
Damn.
it is. I mean, it's really touched on. They have found the right connection of nostalgia, fantasy, what we would like America to be, and what we the life that we aspire to. Many people, not everybody, but the life that many people aspire to, where everything is easy, everything is clean,
Everything is innocent.
everything is innocent, everything has a smile, and people don't have sex organs. No worry about sex.
It does simplify things not to have a sex organ, yeah.
Uh,
But
yeah, I don't know. Thank
you
God I
think
still
anybody
have one. So,
you think Biff Jiggerman and Warner Brothers thought that he had $1 billion project there? I bet that's pretty hard to predict.
well, I don't know if they realize the success that it is, but I think they figured they had a pretty successful They had a formula for something. They knew it wasn't just going to be a kids movie. They knew it was going to touch. I mean, it actually is the perfect combination if you think about it, because you, you're well. Let's see. Let's say okay, we're in our late 60s. We are the prime candidates for the original Barbies. And having them in our lives. We're in that age. Our daughters and nieces and nephews were the second generation. Those daughters and nieces and nephews have now had kids, so you have a third generation.
And
All
they're all hot for
speaking,
Barbie. I can tell you that 8-year-old girls right now are still hot for Barbie.
yeah, yeah, and and boys and I mean it's one of the I would have to think one of the most successful consumer products ever.
There was
So
a display in FAO Schwarz. It was a pillar that ran from the floor to the ceiling, full of water, and a bubble manufacturer at the bottom. And the whole thing was full of Barbie's shoes, floating, floating, endlessly floating, thousands of them, thousands all the way to the ceiling. And I thought, what a great display. You don't have to say who they belong to. You don't have to say what they are. You don't have to say anything. Those are Barbie shoes. Everybody on the planet knows that. And here is a water pillar with 10 million of them in there, just going in different colors everywhere. Nothing but shoes.
somebody knew how to design it. Somebody knew,
Somebody had an
and
idea.
that's it. I mean, things were. I mean, her shoes were as iconic as Imelda Marcos's.
Yeah,
Except if you ask a 10-year-old kid now about Imelda Marcos, they got no idea. You ask
nothing.
a 10-year-old kid now about Barbie, and they'll probably tell you every kind of shoe you can buy for a Barbie.
Write you a dissertation. She doesn't like flats because her foot it comes in an angle. Her foot only goes in high heels. That's why
Right,
Barbie
right.
Barbie can't stand up.
So it touches so many people. It's legend and lore, and grandmothers, mothers, and current kids can all relate to it. And again, and you brought up a great point earlier in the show too, is that what father hasn't stepped on a piece of Barbie or a shoe or an accessory or somewhere along the way. So there's, it's one of those negative memories when it happens, but now that you think about it,
Yeah, it
um,
becomes a sweet memory.
becomes this sweet memory of that time I came home at 2 o'clock in the morning and stepped on Barbie's head. I had to run out and find another Barbie because I crushed the other one, and my daughter would be crushed, and it made you think about a simpler and less a simpler time.
Yes.
And I think that those things are what's going to sell. I think we're totally primed for because there's so much fear of the unknown going on out there, Michael, that I really think we're primed for another. Remember how in the 70s things were changing and we caught on to and really started to learn about computers and we weren't quite there with them as a consumer item, but we were looking. We went to the 50s. Happy Days was the biggest show on television. We went
Yeah.
with what we knew or what our parents taught us. I think something similar is about to happen in the United States. That we will go back to some period of time where that we perceived that things were beautiful and wonderful, and we will try to can it up and sell it to people.
In a time before artificial intelligence, in a time before cable news 24-hour, in a time before you could have a cable news station tell you any kind of news you want. First, we're going to watch TV, but first you have to choose the station. Well, I don't know how to choose. Well, what do you believe? Because they'll tell you what you already believe and they'll reinforce that. So think about it for a second. Here's a list of channels, and remember, they're doing it to please you. So only be true to yourself. Otherwise, you'll be upset with the news. And if you're true to yourself and you choose the right channel, you won't be upset with the news. It'll tell you what you want to hear. It'll
Right.
reinforce your preconceived notions. It'll tell you that it's going to be all right. It'll tell you that Donald Trump is not ever going to jail. It'll tell you Donald Trump's going to jail today. It'll say he's not guilty of any charges against him. The other channel will tell you that he's guilty of all of them, and you should have known that. His lawyers are brilliant. They're going to get him off. They've got an inside track. They're going to get rid of this judge. They're going to move the venue. They're going to do all these wonderful things. His lawyers are nincompoops, and all their motions are being thrown out of court today. So what do you want to hear? How do you want your news to be? And there's no compunction, because tomorrow they're going to make up another stack of shit, and you'll have to be satisfied with that. But no going back and saying, well, hey, what about? No, we don't say what about in the newsroom anymore. Don't ask them about where they get their ideas or what they're doing. They're doing this day by day. They don't know what they believe either. Day by day, we're making up the story.
And it allows the people in charge, the people that run things, it absolutely allows them to get away with murder, to get away with whatever they want. Because our focus now is on Donald Trump.
Yeah.
More than 3/4 of the news is taken up by Donald Trump. So the water commission finding lead in the reservoir doesn't even make the news anymore. The drug company that's creating a new drug that is supposed to cure cancer, but in essence gets you higher than a kite. Nobody's paying attention to that.
I remember what some of my duties at KFWB, depending on what day it was, I could be the editor or I could be the anchor. The editor structures the show, puts everything together, puts all the sound, puts all the writing, and assigns it to the anchors, and then runs the final lineup. We had discussions right over the transom in the newsroom, out loud, like you do in the newsroom. We had 15 acts of violence and physical crime in the city last night. Do we want to run any of those? And if so, here's the top 5. And I would put together a list of them. And the anchors invariably would say, no, we're not running that crap. We're not running that. We could do that every day. And, I was saying, well, that's my point. Do we do a crime summation, or do we pretend it didn't happen? And we could always find some way to bounce that down the track, the summation of crime. Today in Santa Monica, in Montebello, in Pasadena, and in Glendale, there were shootings of a similar variety. Blah, blah, blah. The police are investigating. That would be a number one story in Wenatchee. It couldn't make the rundown in Los Angeles. Now, that's not slanting the news. That's just being realistic about it. You've got an hour of news. Is this one of the stories in that hour? And invariably, the answer was no.
And who's more important to your listener? What story affects your listener the most?
Maybe 8 out of 10 doctors recommend a thingamajig on the thing that they read about with the use of ball peen hammers. You never know what kind of story is going to resonate with an audience.
Right.
But here's the crime summation from last night. Could be, if you did it correctly with production, an interesting piece. But if you're just going to list 5 crimes that happened in LA, the answer, the opposite point of view on that is that happens every night in LA. That is crossing into the area of not news. It's hard to believe, but that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. I had this discussion with my sister many years ago. She said there was something. I think we were talking, and again, I'll tell you how long ago it was. We were all living in San Francisco. So we're talking at least 30 years. And we were watching, I think I was in her house, we happened to be watching TV, and it was kind of the same stuff, the car crashes and this and that, but with a happy talk slant to it.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing that had happened the night before that, and the night before that, and I said something to her like, "Boy, Marianne, they don't even really even. I mean, it's supposed to be the news. It's supposed to be the new stuff. That's what news is. It's the news." And it never dawned on her, as I don't think it does on many people, that that's what the show is about. The new stuff that's going on. Not the
Yes.
same shit every day, but what's new, what's important to your life. What is that? That's what the news is. And the same question still applies today. What's the news? Is it the car crash down the corner? Is it the things that happen every day? Or is it the things that don't happen every day but have a profound effect on you or your family's life? The house that burned down last night at 1243 Maple, while tragic, doesn't have a bearing on your life unless you live on one side or the other, or it's your cousin that lived in that house, or your
You
mother,
know
or
what?
your
You know
father, or family.
what it does have is better video. They got the fire going. They got the trucks coming up. They got the guys running around. They don't have a quick reader under uh, violent, compelling video is always going to make the cut.
Right, right. See, that's it. If it bleeds, it leads,
Yeah.
and that's and that is always since the invention of the mini cam, and the ability to shoot video out in the field, um, and transmit it to a station. Before that, it was all about motorcycles. And the guys, in New York, they had those fleet of guys that used to um, go to news scenes and transport video from the news scene to a newsroom.
And before that, film.
Right. Well, it was film because they could get it there quicker,
Yeah.
get it back to the studio in New York quicker than any other means of traffic. They could go, if they had to go up around a sidewalk, if they had to, however they had to get it there, they were going to get it there. They could go between
Now,
lanes.
now
And these guys, fantastic money doing that.
I would hope so.
Now you just beam
Dangerous
it up.
business. Now you do all your cutting right in the truck, do the whole show right in the truck, cut your stand up into it, send it back, let them play it. But they make you stand in front of the shopping center, in front of the Target that was robbed, for the 7, for the 9, for the
Well,
11, and for
we
the
don't know
midnight.
that
Like
they're in front of the target.
they said
We
they might
don't
be,
know that
they're
they're
in
in
front
front
of
of the target.
something.
We see a building and we see it behind them, but we don't know that they're there. I mean, I don't have the thing on today, but I don't. I've never done this show standing in front of Feller's garage, but
Are you kidding?
I pop that picture in there, and and people think you're standing in front of Feller's garage.
And that's Bob Feller, no matter what they tell you at Feller's Garage. Bob Feller's in there changing oil right now.
He's found a second career. So, it's just it's extremely funny to me that and but yet news directors, news people always feel that that adds some kind of legitimacy to the story. When I was in Pittsburgh, we had KDKA, the CBS station there, and the news director there always had people. The reporter, no matter how long ago the news item happened, when the reporter would tell you about it, they couldn't be in the studio. At the very least, they would have them standing outside of the studio, um, in a park or next to the one of the rivers.
So they can say
Or
downtown Pittsburgh.
right, right. So that it looked like it gave you the illusion that they were everywhere when they really were nowhere. Probably didn't even leave the newsroom. They sent the guy out with the camera. Maybe not even one of their staff guys. Could have been a guy. There's a lot of these now. People that roam around at night and feed news to the highest bidder.
Yes. They go to every
It's
wreck and every call
Yeah,
that they can
they
find.
go to everything, and they get the all of the different stuff that videotape. Sometimes they get lucky and get a murder or something like that, but most of the times it's accidents and fires. And they get paid. It appears they get paid quite handsomely for it.
Well,
Um, they
if they've got some good video of a wreck or a fire or a high speed chase, they're gonna get they'll sell it without a doubt. They will. Now they don't have it every night, but the chance is always there that they could get something to sell every day.
well, car chases have become such a staple of YouTube that there's actually channels. I have a thing in my phone, an app that will alert me when there is a car chase going on in L.A. County or in Southern California. It'll beep. It'll put a notification up, and I can run to my computer or jump on my phone and um, watch the chase from the sheriff's helicopter from
What
wherever.
about
What
what
is it
about
that
Poughkeepsie?
they don't
Did they
do?
have
You know what? They don't do that in New York. They don't break into news for pursuits.
wow?
They haven't for as long as I can remember. They didn't when we were kids. It just never. It's never been as attractive of a proposition for a news station in New York to break into regular programming or to break into anything. Now, it may have changed in some shape or form since they now have 11 news stations in New York that are all news and they have to find content somewhere.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, I haven't seen it change all that much. I haven't seen, part of it is probably because you just have to be lucky, or you have to invest in having a helicopter that's flying over the city all the time so they can
Well,
get to that chase.
and that justifies the use of the long form programming when they do get a chase. Which, by the way, in L.A., maybe you may get the chase on Channel 11, Channel 7, and Channel 9. You pick the copter angle that you like the best and stick with that one while you watch them till the bloody end. Looks like you're frozen there,
Well,
Vinny. I
and
don't know
plus they have
there you
this
are.
new method of chasing. In the old days, the old days chases used to be cool, and they speed through the street up on the sidewalks. But now, in the interest of safety, there's different and varying types of chases.
Slow
There's the
jams.
we lay a couple blocks back. There's the slow chase. Jesus, they were chasing some woman a couple of weeks ago on the five. They were doing 15 miles an hour. At 15
Okay.
miles an hour, you could
It's
you
not
could send a
exactly a
cop
chase.
on alongside of her.
That's when the cops pull up and say, "Could we go a little faster because we got traffic backing up behind us? We want to get this thing settled."
Yeah, we want to get this. We got the 5 o'clock rushes coming on. But you see that more and more now. You don't see that as much if for some reason you watch a chase in Arkansas or because every once in a while this app will pick up the or this channel on YouTube will pick up like a chase in Arkansas
Right.
or in New Jersey or something like that, and they chase a whole different way in Arkansas. They just pull out the guns and start shooting. You know, uh,
It's tradition.
yeah, it's like listen, this is exactly how we caught horse thieves. That's how we catch car thieves. It's not much different.
And this is why Tommy
A human
Tuberville's no
life is not
longer in
worth
the
more
air.
than your 67 Ford convertible.
No,
I'm
Tommy
sorry.
Tuberville will tell them. Tommy Tuberville was chased out of. A lot of people don't know it was a high speed chase to get him to Washington. They got him. They just barely got
Uh-huh.
him there in time because he forgot what day it was. Tommy's not. He's just not very. He's not there. We wish he were there. In fact, we wish he were somewhere else, anywhere, but where he is.
There's a guy that is doing more single handedly to make people. I've learned one thing in life: don't get the soldiers mad at you.
Starting with the commandant of the Marines and working your way down.
What commandant of the Marines? There is no commandant of the Marines, and now there's no commandant of the Army. I mean, and this from if Dianne Feinstein was doing this, if I don't know, name me another senior member that's been around a while and knows the political game. It astounds me that a freshman senator, and this is not about party, this is just about knowledge of the job. I mean,
how to do your
Tommy
job.
Tuberville has, is there what, 6 months? And already he's caused such a stir, not just on this one issue, but in the halls of Congress, in our military, in all of this stuff. And he's got
he hasn't paid anything for it. There's a lot of people who are upset with him. There's Marines that are angry with him. There are people within the Washington structure of the military complex that know how much damage he's done, but it hasn't cost him anything, Vinny. That's the weird thing. He's just being pigheaded about this. He's doing it on purpose. He's doing it to hurt. He's doing it to harm. And remember, his comment was he's going to do this no matter the harm. What I'm going to do no matter who gets hurt or how much they get hurt or what gets hurt or what is damaged. That's me. I'm Tommy Tuberville. That's the kind of guy I am. No matter the harm, I go ahead.
And when you talk to him, when you hear him interviewed, and I actually have spoken to him, he's dumb in a sack of shit. He's one of the dumbest people, I think. Certainly one of the dumbest football coaches I've ever talked to.
I know what he can do. He can be the commissioner of the Pac-4.
Pac 3.5, I think it is now. That's going to be a new thing. You'll be able to opt in and play half your season in the Pac 3.5, and then. Oh, by the way, this is just coming across my phone right now. University of Spolpakia has been asked to join the Pac-10.
They're not going to go for it.
So, Spolpakia, Pima County
State.
Community College,
that's a good school.
St. Aidan's of Costa Mesa, California, have
by the way, the College of Marin was asked to join, and they would have joined. They were pleasantly pleased to be asked. They don't have a football team, and the Pac-12, the Pac-4 said, not a problem. Many of our teams don't have teams.
Well, they said that they'd be happy to throw something together as soon as enrollment, which is August 23rd. As soon as they get the enrollment, they'll take pictures of the really big guys that come in, and then they'll try to contact them, see if they'd be interested in playing.
And the good thing about the Pac-4 is you can sign as a player with Washington State, never play a game for them, get a good reputation, and just enter the portal and wind up at Ohio State, which, by the way, is a football school. And I don't know what we're going to use to describe Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford in the future. If you want to use the phrase football powerhouse, you're going to have to hold on to that line for a while. It's a little early to be calling anybody in the Pac-4 a powerhouse. And they're finding out the Rose Bowl, which is owned by a commission, it's like a company that does the parade and invites the players and invites the teams and everything. They're saying, we're just going to have a game. It's going to be an end of the season game chosen by the football guys. They're going to play it here instead of someplace else. It won't be the Rose Bowl. It won't be a Pac-10 with a Big Ten. It won't be an invitation only. It'll just be two teams. We'll let you know who they are by parade day. And they're going to play right here in the Rose Bowl. And we're going to call it the Rose Bowl. Just so you know, it's not the Rose Bowl.
Or maybe what's even better is we'll get one team, but we won't choose the other team until the Friday night before the game.
Ooh, good idea.
So that'll give us an air of suspense, and we all know that everybody loves suspense. And we'll invite them the Friday night before the game. These games usually happen on Sunday or Monday, so they have 48 hours to get down here.
And plus, they're going to have the parade first. So while they have the parade, you can be flying into town. You'll be there in time.
Right. We'll have some pretty maidens all in a row out at the airport to greet the players and the coaches.
And we'll have instead of the usual, we'll just drive by Lowry Steakhouse. You won't get a steak. You just drive by and take a look at it. Here's a postcard. We'll show you a video of Disneyland.
We'll give you a container of Lowry spices to take home.
Yeah, it's a handy complimentary container.
Yeah, so you get this container of Lowry spices. We have these things sitting back here since 1938.
Since Crazy Legs Hirsch
on them. Yeah. And so you have that. If you're one of those people that take the car down to the Rose Bowl from Washington or Washington State or Oregon, you can continue to do that. You leave. There'll be somebody here when you get here. We don't know if there'll be a game, but somebody will be around.
Now, Vinnie, all these football conferences have officers and lawyers and group ownership and financial considerations that they have to go through.
We specialize in financial ownership.
Well, not in the West. How did we end up with the dog's dinner on this one? How did we end up with nothing? Everybody left. Nobody came. We didn't stop anybody. We didn't make any offers. We didn't come up with a television package. We didn't come up with an alternative. We didn't come up with an opposition. We didn't come up with a plan. We didn't come up with anything. We came up with regrets every time a school left. And the schools were leaving sometimes 2 a day. And the Pac-12 Brain Trust came up with zip.
Well, Michael, I have said this for many years, and I believe it to be true, and maybe today more than it was on Wednesday last. If you want to watch true college sports, you go to Division II, and you watch the Slippery Rock universities of the world versus I don't know. There's a whole lot of versus the PLUs, Pacific Lutheran, Frosty Westering, those games, because the kids don't get paid to go. They have to pay their way to go to college. They do it for the love and the loyalty of the university, not because they think they're going to get to the NFL afterwards.
Vinnie, it's funny that the first thing that college football was willing to jettison was tradition. All right, we're going to get together. We're going to be more businesslike. We're going to pay the kids. We're going to make new divisions, and we're going to forget about the rah-rah part of the game because it doesn't count for anything. Cal doesn't have to play Stanford. We can just call it the big game anytime we want. With 2 teams, bring them in, call it the big game. Follow me on this one. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But what about these conferences that have too many teams in them now to even play once? That's not a problem. The television money will even that out. And the fact that you don't get to play the team that you thought you were going to play shouldn't upset you because you got a new deal now. And if you don't like it, get in the portal and go back to the Pac-4.
And by the way, how much has the price of a college? I mean, these teams, these conferences are getting billions with a B, billions of dollars in television money, in revenues, in royalties.
Money.
Yeah, it's stupid money they're getting. How many kids' college tuitions have gone down since all of this came about? How many colleges have said, "Well, we're making so much money, we're making millions. This school, this university is making a ton of money. The the coaches are all making over $1 million a year. They are easily the highest paid state employees in almost every state in the union."
And the students who came to school there to study biology have to pay like everybody else to see their own team on their own field in their own school on a Saturday.
Right. So, I mean, if the colleges were saying, listen, we got $20 billion from I don't know, ESPN, Disney, to to for the next 10 years to have these games. That money's in the bank, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn around and we're going to say we're going to knock off, I don't know, $5,000 off of everybody's tuition for the next for 4 years that you go to school. Not just the athletes get a scholarship, but everybody gets a scholarship of some kind.
Everybody gets a break. These are the good
Right.
times.
This is a cash cow. People are willing to spend this money, so why not? Let's give a gift to any kid who wants to go to school, or if a kid wants to go to trade school or something like that, we work it out so that when you graduate our school, you don't graduate $50,000 in debt.
Not
You
that we care.
graduate $1,000, 2,000, 5,000 in debt. You don't have to get a free ride, but you have to get the ridiculous money that these schools and these and some of these people that run these schools are making, and we spread it around a little bit so that everybody gets a taste. Everybody gets a little something out of the deal, but they can't do that because first of all, it's a professional sport. It's no different than the Mariners or the Yankees or the Mets or anybody else. As a matter of fact, at least when you go to the Mets game or the Yankees game, the Mariners game, you get a bobblehead doll or you get something to walk away with.
Also, when you go to a Mets game and you get there, they're in the National League. When you leave, they're not in the American League or the ACC or now playing in Japan. They haven't made a deal to just willy-nilly sever themselves from the National League and go play baseball with some other organization.
But whose fault is this all, Michael?
Well, I guess we could trace it back to the structure of the NCAA and how they controlled college football. When the controls were taken off, so too the wheels came off.
Sports is an addiction for many people. For many people, it gives them a high, a reason to live when they have nothing else. There's so many people that are addicted to sports, like a drug.
As if like the Eagles fans in Philadelphia.
Right. That it doesn't matter. And if they want to sock me another $1,500 a year for my tickets, so be it. That's the cost.
I'm lucky to be paying it.
Right. Instead of saying, as a matter of fact, I'm lucky to even be on the list of 20,000 people who have said, when you get somebody that doesn't want to pay it anymore, call me. I'll come down and pay it.
Yeah. And there's plenty of there's a list like that for probably every team in the league.
It's horrifying. So not only are we addicted to opioids, but
Yay.
we're addicted to sports, We're addicted to television. I mean, we're a nation of fucking addicts.
We have an addictive personality as a nation and as citizens, without a doubt. But this business of anybody can play football for anybody looks great on paper. Looks great for the freedom of the changing of the sports. But how is it going to work? How are those schedules going to be made? How are the travel arrangements going to be finalized? And what about teams just being left on the side of the road that had for 110 years a home to play football and now have nothing? It's like they've got a trailer park and they got to get their trailer out of there by noon. They don't even have wheels on the thing. They certainly don't have tires on the wheels. They don't have a way to go. They don't have any place to go. They don't have a plan on where to go. They don't have an idea on how we're going to play football this year.
Yeah.
And if you're a Cal Bear right now, looking at your helmet, you're going, "What the hell did I get into? I don't even belong in a league anymore. I don't know what my first game is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to make the team. I don't know if our coach is going to stay. I don't know anything about where I'm going to wind up being responsible to. Who am I?"
And this is what we call progress. This is what we call the golden age of college football. I'm sorry. I am more and more thinking to myself that the golden age of college football was probably the 60s and the 70s, before it got all so blown out of proportion.
What did Keith Jackson used to say? Whoa, Nelly.
Whoa,
Too late.
Nelly.
It's too late, Keith. You should have said Whoa, Nelly 2 years ago. And by the way, he went to Washington State. I'm going to give him full credit for that.
Yes, he did.
When he was at Washington State, he probably didn't know he was going to be such a big deal on the network, but he was. He was a Cougar that went all the way, a great Coug. But I don't think he'd be very happy with what he sees in the sport that he loves so much and the sport that he covered so professionally for so long. I don't think he could possibly be happy. How can anybody play in football? How can Saban name any coach that you want from the successful team? How can that coach in that organization say, "Yeah, this looks good"?
Oh, I'll tell you how. Because they're cashing their checks no matter what. And I don't know, to be honest with you, I think we're in a society now that that's what matters. That the money matters more than anything else. It matters to the administrators in the college. Don't come to me and say that you're hell bent on you're doing this because you want all the kids in your school to get a quality education. If your
Yeah,
kid
don't
if
try
the
that.
kid can't pay to go to school, you're not worried about him getting a quality education. You tell him to go down the road to Alphonsus Community College.
And look at what can happen to you if you want to play college football. The Pac-12 was around as the Pac-10 for over 100 years. At their offices right now, they have directors and vice presidents and marketing people. They've got television and radio experts. They've got rules experts. They've got medical experts. They've got a whole building full of people with nothing to do. They all survived. They all are in place. The Pac 12 on paper looks just as it did when they had football teams, but now they don't have any football teams. All they have is a conference headquarters in San Mateo, I think it is, where they gather and talk to one another about the good days of what? What are they going to talk about today at work at the Pac 12
Well,
headquarters?
I'm not sure that everybody's going to survive, Michael. I mean, I think that's the thing. Geez, I've been doing the whole show with my seatbelt on. I don't. I'm not sure that they're going to survive. I mean, right now they're there, and right now they're the Pac-10, the Pac whatever it is, the Pac-4, the Pac-2, the Pac-1, the Pac-0. They're scrambling to find schools that fit what they think the criteria of the Pac-10 ought to be, that they can hoodwink at this point into joining. There's any number of schools on the West Coast that will probably jump at the chance. I mean, not even just on the West Coast, but in the
west of the
western
Mississippi.
part of the United States.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though seems to be no geographical limit to where conferences can be anymore. It used to be kind of a geographical thing, but you can still put a fairly decent league together out of teams on the West Coast.
Also, if they take New Mexico, they can take parts of Texas. They can take the Mountain West. Montana plays good football, but these schools have contracts and commitments that they may be unwilling to break, given the fact that it could get fought in court, and there
Mikey,
goes all your profits.
Mikey, 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 my dear friend Mikey. When's the last time you saw a contract in sports that couldn't be broken?
Look out for the Mountain West contracts. Mountain West contracts have the schools committed to a certain level of commitment that's unlike a contract in any other conference. And the first thing that the Pac-12 thought about, or the Pac-4, was, hey, we'll get those Mountain West schools. We'll get Fresno State. Fresno State said, no, we'll get the University of Nevada. Well, we have a commitment to the thing. We'll get a couple schools in Utah, and give me one from Montana. They're all booked up. It's not as easy as it once was, and you just can't go out and put together a league on the fly when you haven't prepared. How can you attract
Except,
someone to your league when you weren't prepared enough to save your own conference?
except if you have enough money. Because
That
if
could be
there's
a
anything that
problem.
we've seen with these schools is that they can be bought.
I thought you were going to quote Michael Corleone there. You almost did. There's one thing
Yeah,
we've learned.
they can be bought. Uh, Time and time again, we've seen teams that had games set for years with across state rival, across city rival. It's in a different conference, but they would play each other because they had the game set. But for years it was like that. But now, all of a sudden, these rivalries, and another school comes along with a bigger payday, and all of a sudden,
We're not coming.
they're coming. They buy the other team out. They give them, and the other team goes, well, geez, I mean, here we are. We're going to get 2 million, 3 million, and we don't even have to get on buses. We could just
We
stay
don't
here
have
and
to
watch
go
it on
anywhere.
TV.
This is how we make money now. We don't play football. Well, Ohio State did that to Washington 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times, and Washington's apparently never got the idea. This is Ohio State. Is that the same Ohio State that, yeah, those are the guys? Well, let's sign them up. They're good partners. Hello, Ohio State on the phone for you, coach. We're not coming.
Yeah, it is so much. It's such a joke. It really is. The whole structure of sports. I think, and I know that we've talked about this. I mean, we've talked about this as far back as when we were doing a show on KJR. I truly believe that we are coming to a time in this country where you need, such as you have a Federal Communications Commission, such as you have a FTC, such as you have all different kinds of commissions that oversee all sorts of consumer affairs. It is probably time to look at having a sports commission of some kind, or a group of people that can put a clamp on, or try to return some kind of reason to this, because the NCAA cannot police themselves.
They just
They're
don't have it
woefully bad.
they just don't have it in their blood.
They're woefully bad because they're all about the money too.
You know why they can't do it? It's lack of institutional control. That's what it is.
You hit the nail on the head.
They
Lack
would
of
love to be able to do
institutional
it.
control.
They planned to do it. They were going to do it, and they meant to do it, but they didn't do it. No control.
They have no control. They all need to be wearing Depends. They have absolute.
I said I came here to wear the pants in the family. No, you said depends. I said depends.
Yeah, he said
No,
not Depends.
we heard depends. Sorry. Here's your
But I
diapies.
think at some point um, that the federal government is going to have to look into this and say, wait a second, this has gone way. We were willing to leave you guys alone when you were making millions. But when you started raking in the billions by having kids jump on a plane and fly to the East Coast for a game and then fly back, and then all of the attendance stuff that went with that.
How are you going to put together a weekend schedule if you're ABC and you're going to broadcast 30 games in your regional networks? To choose the games that need to be televised is going to be hell on wheels. And teams that don't get televised, that get overlooked, whose game doesn't make the cut, are going to be screaming about. You said that when we came here,
Well,
we were
Michael,
going
you
to.
know how that's going to work. Come on. I mean, that's the most obvious thing in this whole thing. All of these games aren't going to be on free TV anymore.
No.
There's no way that they could put them on free TV and afford to pay the amount of money that they're paying for them. It's all going to be pay-per-view or a subscription service.
You got to sign up and get your money. Call ESPN 9. They're open. The operators are standing by. They'll sign you up for a college package. And you got a layered approach. It'll cost you $5,000 for the first layer,
Yep.
another $8,000 for total layer. The executive layer is $12,000. You should get that. Everybody who's got the executive layer really loves it. It's got
If
so
you
many
own,
games you can't. It's games you pay for, but there's so many of them you can't watch them. So
yeah.
that's how the executive it is.
Well, and if you own a bar or you own a place where people gather,
That's a different fee. That's a different fee.
you're gonna that poor guy that owns that Cougar bar in Magnolia. If he wants to show the pack the Coug games, he's going to have to pony up a couple of $1,000s to watch it.
He's probably going to have to put together a team out of Ballard to go play the Cougs if he wants to see it.
It probably, as a matter of fact, yeah. And what's even worse about it is that it is, once they get all of this money, you know where they're going next. They're going to high school sports. Mark my words, before we leave this planet, you will see a high school sports pay-per-view network.
And if we leave the planet, can we go someplace where they don't have that?
Well, I'm thinking it'd be nice, but I'm not sure that these networks haven't been to other planets, and whatever they're playing there have them all signed up already. Because as long as the sports consumer sticks their hand in their pocket and says, here's my credit card, give me that alternative Sunday the 15th jersey, bring me down a gaggle of 20 beers so I can show off to my friends in the stands. As long as you can get people to pony up for seat licenses, as long as you can get people to part with their money for anything else they can think of, they'll keep sticking it to you.
Especially if you're alumni. You're alumni, man.
Yeah,
You got to
and if
go.
you're alumni, it's worse. I mean, how long has it been now? I was just talking about this with my friend this weekend. You have to pay, I think it's $5,000 a seat a year to get into the Tyee Club.
Wow. And no one
Yeah,
knows what they're doing in the Tyee Club. They're tying somebody.
they're
You can hear the
tying
scuffle.
somebody up.
Somebody,
Maybe
you
they
can hear
give
the
you a couple
scuffle.
pops. I don't know exactly what they do at the Tyee Club, but I know that you have to pay.
We're not serving drinks until we get this guy tied up. So tie him up, and then we can get the bar open again.
If you want to participate in Washington sports, you have to come up with essentially a seat license money.
Because we know we sold you that seat for the next 7 years. What we've done is we've actually sold it again without your permission.
Right.
But this can all be corrected with the check written out to the seat fund.
And if you can't pay it, believe you me, there's a line of people who want nothing more than to put the purple and gold on a Saturday afternoon and stand out there in the rain with their fires going and their husky blankets on, and take the privilege. It's. I mean, it's ridiculous. Listen, for the All-Star game, they were getting $120 to $150 for parking. For parking.
And where was it again?
The All-Star game that was
I
here in
know.
Seattle this past July.
Well, Seattle is rather infamous for expensive parking, but I thought that $150 for a spot seems a little adventurous.
Well, the lot was full. When you pay it, when you don't vote with your feet, they're going to
Done.
charge you.
It's a done deal.
If you're crazy enough to pay it, they'll be crazy enough, and then you'll complain to your friends, and you'll say that's horrible. But you know what? The next time you go down there, you'll remember the old days when you used to just go through your quarters in the ashtray for the parking money? Forget that. you don't have enough ashtray to put quarters in there.
There's no ashtray on earth that can hold what you need to go park your car.
Yeah, sorry, that's gone by the wayside. Ashtray parking meters and what do you call it? Tolls. You don't need to have an ashtray anymore because there's no coins in the ashtray anymore. Now it's all about.
That's why you never see Royal Brome at the games anymore, because he's being paid in the 1920s scheduling. He's got his deadlines that he has to make. There's no place for him to park on Royal Brome Avenue.
They even covered up his avenue.
They covered it up?
Well, where the now you can drive directly from I-5 into the garage, the Seahawks garage. You don't even have to hit the street in Seattle. So a big chunk of Royal Brome is covered up with the ramps that come off of I-5 and get you into the Seahawks garage.
Well, Royal Brome was a stylish writer, and you can go back and read some of his stuff from the early days when he talked about boxing matches. But one phrase that he used was, "He knows his onions," referring to someone that he was writing about in his sports page. That stuck with me, and I've used it as often as I can. I'll use it again today. If you're a guy who loves college football and you know your onions, what you smell is a pig in a poke. There's something wrong. There's something terribly, terribly, suddenly, dramatically, earthquake style wrong with what's going on. And I can't imagine that the season for football is going to suddenly just adjust itself to this new reality with no problems. And I mean major problems, especially when you get to the end of the year and communities and companies like the Rose Bowl that had a deal, that had a reason to be there, no longer have that reason. They're just part of the scenery. You put on a parade, a couple teams are coming in. Where are they coming from? We'll get back to you on that. I don't know. Right now, I can't tell you. It'll be 2 college football teams that don't know where Pasadena is, and they're coming as fast as they can. Give them a break. Help them with the bus. Help them when they drive by Lowry's Steakhouse. Help them out.
Somebody's got to hand out those containers of spice.
We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're coming from, but they're on their way. Get the stadium ready.
Well, that steak dinner that they used to give away is now $200 a plate. So we're not giving $200 a plate meals to college kids. Forget about it.
And they eat like they're football players.
And they have to ask for seconds.
They did. Because many of those guys don't eat one steak. They eat 2 steaks. That's the way they do it. Biff Two Steaks Marachi was his name. He always ate 2 steaks. He was famous for it. Then he got into the portal. We haven't seen him since.
Yeah, where'd he go? We couldn't get him into the portal. Problem was he ate 2 steaks a night for 2 years. Poor kid couldn't climb into the portal. They had two defensive linemen behind him pushing him up by his ass.
Give him oh, this ain't gonna work. Would you
He
stand
looked
down, Mr. Minucci? Yeah, just stand down for a minute. We're gonna work on the portal. It's not.
he looked like a combination of Fatty Arbuckle and Jackie Gleason trying to get into that portal.
And away we go.
Away he couldn't go. He couldn't fit into the portal.
You'd think the portal would accept just about any size guy, but it's not a one size fits all portal.
It's no.
It's it's an early
Sometimes you
model.
have to go to the Men's Warehouse and get the portal altered.
By the way, if you're waiting for the draft, the NFL draft, Men's Warehouse will sell you an ugly suit that you can wear with your mother while you wait for your name to be called. It ain't going to be pretty. It's going to be one damn ugly suit, but people will remember you.
Oh my God. Yeah, yeah. Maybe what the Pac-10 ought to do is take a few of those dollars and hire a fashion consultant to,
Too late.
to tell some of these kids, "Hey, kid, you might
They
want
ain't
to
going to
think
make it.
about a kind of a sedate three-piece there."
Take that suit off and give it to your dog and make a nice bed. He's going to curl up in it and thank you forever. It's going to be a cozy place to take a nap, but you're
We'll
not
get
wearing
you.
that suit.
We'll get you something from the big and tall store. Just stay here. We'll be right back.
Oh, just calm down. Hang out. You're going to look great.
Oh man. Well, Mikey,
It's
we
noon
started
already.
late, but we
We went long.
went long, and that's okay because there was a lot to discuss today. I just want to say I had a fun weekend. I was up in northern Idaho, at a friend's place as a cabin up on Priest Lake, and it
His own
was
private
absolutely
Idaho?
gorgeous. Say again?
Is that his own private Idaho?
Yes, it is his own private Idaho. It used to be owned by the state, but they sold the land a few years ago, so now it's his own private Idaho.
Well, as I always say when Idaho is mentioned, we will accept your apologies as they come in, Idaho. The great state of Idaho is famous for many things. Their apologies are just a little late, but we'll get through that. Like California, we apologize every day for being Californians. We have to. There's just so much crap going on. But in Idaho, it's hard to get an apology out of them.
See, but it's interesting because I don't know that anybody ever apologizes for being a New Yorker.
Why
I
would
think,
they?
yeah, I think it's like this is what we are.
By the
If you
way,
like,
I was rooting for the Jets to beat the Browns. I just wanted them to do it. I know that the game didn't mean anything, but
I was too, man. But
it didn't happen. Well, they didn't play a whole game. They had some rookies to
yeah,
see, and I
yeah,
understand that.
you,
But psychologically, it was important for Rodgers to. He looks good. He looks better than he has in years.
yeah, you can't. Well, it's that good food.
Damn right.
One of the things that'll happen, I think, in New York to him is, the serious bull crap that he spews out. He's probably going to be told to shut the hell up.
Play a little football. See what you
Play
can do about
football.
that.
We're here to play football. In Green Bay, you were a big cheese because this is Green Bay. This is New York City. We do things differently here.
Can't be helped. It's just a big place. Things are going
Just
on.
the way it is. We've been doing it for years, and you're in a franchise who hasn't done anything for years. And the
So
reason we brought you here is to do something. So if you go out there and you win 10 or 12 games or 15 games in a regular
we'll talk.
season, you can spout anything you want off. But until you do that, and if you don't believe us, just go ask Joe Namath.
Ask him the difference between winning and losing in New York.
Yeah, he'll tell you. It's a very simple equation. You can become you can be Tony Soprano, or you could be Adrian. The
I
choice
think
is
Adrian's still living in the woods. Anybody hear from her?
well, she's in the woods. I don't know that she lived for too long in the woods.
Tell her to call if she's around.
And
Call
on
me,
top
Adrian.
of it, it was Miami Steve that killed her.
Yeah,
Or maybe his first solo album killed her, actually.
it killed many people. It killed 3 or 4 promotion men.
Yes, killed a few people. All right, Mikey, listen, I'll catch up with you Wednesday morning. I'm
We'll
glad
do
we
it.
got this show in. We almost didn't get it in, but we got it in. So if you're in our listening audience and you ever have a doubt that we're committed to doing this show, today is one of the days that you could look back on and say, boy, these guys really do give a damn about us.
And then I watched them again on Wednesday, and they sucked. I don't know what went wrong with the show. They just didn't have it. What was it?
Now we're like everybody else, you know. If we hit 333, we're doing well.
By the way, I want to thank the Mariners for sending Mark Matthias, the second baseman, as part of the recent trade we have with them, because our second baseman, Casey Schmidt, is hitting 205 and was sent to AAA. And Mark Matthias has now been brought up to the big leagues to play ball. He did his college at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, got drafted, was a member of the Mariners, just got traded 2 weeks ago. And now he's going to be starting at second base in our 3 games against the Angels, and then 3 games against Texas as Bruce Bochy returns with a tough team.
Well, I would love to see the Giants be successful. The Mariners have been quite successful since the All-Star break. They're killing it right now. I don't know
Just
how
win,
long
baby.
this will last, but as I always tell Mariner fans, enjoy it while it's happening because it can go away just as quickly as it came.
It can go sideways, and if you don't believe me, ask Arizona State.
Right,
They
but
don't
they
even know
are.
where they are.
Yeah, they got no idea where they got 4 buses parked in front of the stadium. They got no idea which way the buses are going. They better have GPS systems in them
I would hope so.
because we can't tell you where you're going yet.
And we don't much care, apparently.
Yeah, well, we got our money, so we don't care. No, we got a big severance check from the Pac too.
The pack none. For the
Well,
pack
they
it
ought to just
yourself.
call it the pack it because that's what they're telling everybody to do. Just pack it. All right, Michael. I will see you Wednesday if the Lord's willing. The creek don't rise, pal.
I'll
Until
be here,
then,
baby.
peace, love,
Manischewitz, what a
Manischewitz.
wine. See you,
Bye,
man.
Mikey.